welcome back. So today's session, we will be talking about professional growth planning in this plan module. So I'm already logged in, you can see, and I'm starting from my dashboard, which is this spot right here where I get my 4 areas. Before we click on plans though, I just want to quickly review that under profile, there was our biography information, but there's also this self-assessment. So remember we had a look at the self-assessment tool, we looked at the initial, and we looked at the full, which had more of the all of the action statements on it. This is based on the BC PVPA leadership standards, and I went in and did, oh sorry, I'm in the wrong plan. I made a new example. So yesterday's was example 2019-2020. If you have more than one done and saved, they all show up in this top corner, just so you know. So you'll remember from yesterday, we had a look at ethical leadership. Here are the 2 standards. And then I actually marked myself a 2 yesterday, sorry, and I made a little change earlier because I was playing around with it. And then I also did under decision making, gave myself the level of 2 after reading that over, and I did 1 in here. So I didn't actually fill them all out, but there they are that we worked on last time. If I wanted to make a new one, I can just click new growth plan. Okay, so we're going to go back to our dashboard now, and we'll go to plans, keeping in mind that we've done that self-assessment in that area. This is for school growth planning, the blue side. So you don't want to choose the blue side right now because we're talking about professional growth planning. The school plans are also very cool. So I'd suggest that you later on maybe have a look at that if you're interested in using this for school growth planning. So when we go into our professional growth plan, we've got 3 areas in here. We've got the portfolio, which is evidence of your practice for your growth plan. We've got an inventory, which includes evidence and self-assessment. Remember, we were just in the self-assessment tool, which was under profile in the dashboard, and then your actual growth plan. Okay, and just like I explained in the previous video, there are multiple ways to get to things, right? So here you've got your evidence and your self-assessment. And then here's where you're going to put in your evidence. So these kind of overlap a bit, but it gives you 2 different places to access the same thing. So if we go into portfolio, you can see, again, we're working right now in new example. I'm going to switch back to example 2019-20. So this is the plan I want to look at. And I've actually already uploaded something under ethical leadership. So when you click these drop downs, you get again to the standards, and again to the action statements, all the different action statements. And here you can add files as evidence of what it is that you're doing around that. So fostering a safe and inclusive learning environment, how is it that you're doing that? What are your answers to these reflective questions? What kind of evidence do you have? What kind of resources do you have that link to this? So when we go to add file, we have a bunch of options of how we can add those. You can upload things from your machine. So if you have photos or a document or a staff meeting minutes or something from an activity that you did, you can add a link. Perhaps you've got video evidence of something, or you've got a link to another page that's evidence of this practice, examples of practice, or you can select the resources that you've added on BetterEducate or your bundles. So if I click Browse Resources, all of the resources that I've added on BetterEducate, which we learned to do yesterday, right, are in here. So I could choose to go to, say, we're in standard 1, action statement 1. So I might choose this resource to add as an example of my practice. And then I can give it a title, I can add some notes, and I just click save and it'll show up there. Okay, what I've added here is I did the exact same thing, browse my resources, but I added a bundle. So I came all the way down here to my bundles, and I chose my ethical leadership bundle, and then that showed up as well. And this shows the evidence. This is just reminding me this evidence is already here in my portfolio evidence. Okay, so now I've added evidence to action statement 1 of standard 1. Okay, and I will not show you any more because I think that's pretty self-explanatory from there on in. You can add evidence to all of them. You might not want to add evidence to all of them because not all of those things are necessarily in your growth plan. So to go back to the growth planning options, I can either go dashboard and growth plan again, or I can come up here. I forgot to show that you can navigate up here as well. So I'm just going to go back to growth planning because I'm currently in portfolio. Now when I go to growth plan inventory, we're going to see that evidence and we're going to see Once again, I have to switch back to the plan I'm actually using. And we're going to see the assessment. So you can see here, again, here are the domains. Within each domain, there are the standards, the leadership standards, and then there's my self-assessment. I marked myself as a 2 on those areas, and you can see I've got one piece of evidence in here as well. And you can see there's that evidence that I just added for the action statement. So that's all there. I can change things in here if I want to. Okay, and I can add evidence through this area as well. So your inventory, you can add and change your assessment. You can do both things in here. Whereas when you just went to portfolio, that was only evidence. And when we went to profile self-assessment, it was just the self-assessment. So this is both tools in one, which depending on how you like to do things might be really handy for you. Then we go to our growth plan, our actual overall plan. So we're going to come in here. Again, I'm going to go to example 2019-2020 because this is where I actually have some things in here. And then these are the steps of your growth planning. You're going to talk about your purpose and vision, develop your goals. You're going to choose a template to use to actually kind of flesh out those goals. And then there's your evidence area. So under purpose and vision, there are 3 questions to answer: your purpose for professional growth, your vision, your underlying values and beliefs. Okay, and that's where you can just type in your thoughts there. And then there's a notes area in case you have any notes you want to add to that or things you want to remember for next year or something you haven't quite done yet. And there's a completion date, which I know for I use the school growth planning module a lot, and we never use the completion date because everything just goes on and on and on, like a spiral of inquiry, for example. Okay, so then we have our goal development. What is your goal and what's the possible impact for the people that you work with and for? And what's your second goal and what's the possible impact? We've got notes and a completion date for those as well. And then we've got our growth plan templates. So under here, you can either use the template that's built in, which is Growth Plan 2.0 template, or you can upload your own. So if you go to upload your own for a moment, you're just going to drag and drop or click to upload a file from your computer. So if you have a school district template that you need to use or something like that, that's where you can do that. Or you can use this one, which is already linked to all of the standards, which is, excuse me, which is so great, I think, because everything's built in. So what standard is the focus of your growth plan connected to? I'm just going to choose standard 1. And then why have I selected that standard? What's my inquiry question that reflects my goal? What activities am I going to undertake? What evidence will I provide that I'm reaching that goal? And what resources do I need in order to fulfill that? And then the exact same thing for goal 2. So that kind of lays it out nicely for you to link your professional goals, which we listed up here, to the BCPVPA leadership standards. It links them directly there. And then down here, growth plan evidence, we again get to that area where we are putting evidence. Anything we added when we were back in the portfolio or in the evidence area is already here. So you can see I've got evidence 1 of 10 here. And when I open this up, there they are, those 2 things I've already added. So my evidence automatically gets added into my plan. Now, remember, we only chose 2 goals, and you can see down here all of the domains and all of the standards are represented. So the expectation is not that you are going to go through and have evidence for every single area of leadership every single year of your career. You're looking at what are your specific goals and adding evidence for those. And again, there's a spot for notes down here. So I already had a plan started, which is why you could see these when we first arrived at this page. If I hadn't ever started a plan, there wouldn't be anything here when I first come in. I would need to choose right here, new growth plan. When you create your new growth plan, I'm just going to call this one ABC because I have a lot called example. When you create your growth plan, you have the choice of starting fresh with nothing in it, or you can start from one that you've already created. And then all of the evidence and will be copied over. And that way you don't have to reload evidence because we find, so if we come down here, oh, that wasn't the plan I copied. I didn't copy the right plan. Anyway, we find it will copy for you, and we find in our school growth planning that really the plan changes a little bit. We tweak it year to year, but a lot of the things are really the same. So being able to, when you start a new one, not start from scratch is a handy tool as well. Or you can start from scratch and then you just get the blank. So let's go back to our one that actually has stuff in it. Not very much stuff, but it's a bit filled out. Now, here are some other tools that you can use once you get into your growth planning. So right now, no one sees this except me. I log in, I look at my growth plan. I don't have to admit to anybody anything about it. It's my private business. I can copy it and paste it somewhere, or I can click this print button. I don't have a printer set up right now, but you'll see it looks like when you print something from the internet, right? So there are all the little boxes, even the empty ones print, and you can see the places where I've actually chosen that standard. And then if you come down here, you can see that I've got that evidence of practice there. So that's if I print it. It also opens it up into this handy page where you can scroll through the entire thing open, which is, I think, kind of a helpful tool. So that was using print. I can add contributors. So if I want someone else to be able to add evidence and make changes to my plan, that's a contributor. A contributor can make changes. So if I wanted to invite, say, Sean Lockhart, and remember, fewer letters seems to help with searching. If I click Add Contributor here, he will be able to, on his end of BetterEducate, come in and edit my plan, make changes, which I don't really want Sean to be able to do, so I'm not going to send that. But I can also share my plan in a view-only version, which might be something that you do want to do if you are having someone as a mentor or someone who's helping you work through your leadership goals, or if you're reporting on your leadership goals to district administration. So again, I just search for someone in BetterEducate. And if I share this plan, Sean can come in and look at my plan and make comments on it, but he can't actually make changes. Or if you want to share your plan with someone who's not in BetterEducate, you can do so by using this link. So you could email this link out to, say you wanted to show your teachers what it is that you're working on and they're not on BetterEducate, or you're sharing it with, I don't know, your PAC. I don't know who administrators would want to share this with, but if you copy this URL and just email that out to people, they'll be able to see all of this. And it looks pretty slick, I think. It shows up really nicely. I mean, I have nothing in this plan to share. There's my evidence, and they can actually open and look at that evidence as well. So, and I actually think, yeah, they can click through it too. So if it's a bunch of photos, they can click through all the photos and things like that, which is really nice. It's quite tidy as a website to go out for people who are not users. So again, this is where you can share your plan as a view only to people who aren't in the BetterEducate platform. And I can also delete my plan if I want to. When I realize that I don't want example 1920 anymore, I can just delete that. And up here is again where I switch between the plans I've created. So I've got this example, I have another one called New Example, and there's the one we just created called ABC. So that is your growth planning area. So again, we'll come back here. We've got our portfolio evidence of practice. We've got our inventory, which has our evidence and our self-assessment. And then there's where your actual plan is. And if we wanted to see our self-assessment just on its own, we come back to profile, and that's in here. So just tons and tons of tools to help you with your growth plan as you journey into being an administrator. I can't recommend using this enough. You don't have to show it to anyone. That's what I love about it. Is that you can work through the tools and make some goals for yourself, and achieve those goals, and you don't have to tell anyone. I mean, it would be great if you shared with someone. We know there's all that research that shows that, you know, when you have people on your team, you're more likely to achieve your goals. But you don't have to feel like it's going out public to the entire platform. No one can look at it in here except you and anyone you've invited to share it with. So that's the growth plan module. So now you've kind of had a look at everything except the school plans, which are actually really similar to the to the professional growth plan. So if you wanted to check that out at some point, I think that once you're used to the other tools, you'll find it really easy to walk through that. Again, we're going to have some question and answer session. So if you have any questions about the growth planning module, you are welcome to ask them. I obviously, from being in there, you can see that I haven't actually used it as a tool for myself at this point because I'm just a teacher. But having a look at it this week really inspired me to want to give it a try. So I might be using that. I will be using that this coming year for sure. And if you have any other questions, again, don't hesitate to reach out. You can find me on BetterEducate, and you can send me a chat message using this feature right here, and I will be delighted to have a conversation with you about it. And, oh, there we go. Now I've got my CLES staff group. Remember on the video yesterday when I couldn't get that staff group to work? It's obviously been fixed. So that's exciting. You should be able to do that now. Okay, that's everything for today. Have a lovely day.